Ethan, congratulations on passing our online interview. The offer has been sent to your email. We need you to start in London within 2 weeks. Do you have any questions? On the other end of the line, a man with a crisp British accent spoke, his English fluent and professional. I didn't hesitate for a single second before agreeing, my own voice steady despite the frantic beating of my heart. No problem, I'll be there on time. Just as the call ended, I heard the familiar sound of the front door opening and the click of the handle turning. Chloe walked in, her heels making soft sounds on the hardwood floor. When she saw me standing in the living room, she offered a small, apologetic smile and smoothly handed over a simple paper bag. Sorry, the law firm had something come up yesterday, so I couldn't spend New Year's Eve with you. Don't be mad, she said, her tone sincere enough that, had I not known better, I might have believed her. I didn't question it, not out loud anyway. I simply took the bag from her and glanced inside. At the very bottom, a single, unadorned sandalwood bracelet lay there, looking lonely and forgotten. It was such a thoughtless presentation. She hadn't even bothered to find a proper box for it. I knew this bracelet. It was expensive, yes, but not because of its own intrinsic value. It was a complimentary add-on, a bonus gift that came with the purchase of a much more valuable agarwood bracelet. Seeing it here, offered to me so casually, could only mean one thing. Chloe had bought the exquisite agarwood piece for someone else and was giving me the freebie. If it weren't for the photos my friend Mark had sent me just yesterday, proudly showing off a striking new bracelet on his wrist, I might not have suspected that my girlfriend of 5 years would give the real gift to another man, just like she had claimed her firm needed her on New Year's Eve, when in reality she was with Mark. But I didn't confront her. There was no point. I just said thanks and accepted the gift. Seeing me pocket the bracelet without any further questions or excitement, Chloe frowned. She stopped me just as I was about to head back to my room. Where's mine? I paused, genuinely confused for a moment. I turned back to look at her, her body blocking my path, her expression expectant. What do you mean, yours? Don't you remember? She asked, a note of disappointment creeping into her voice. You promised we'd exchange gifts every New Year's, to show we care about each other. She looked genuinely upset, as if she truly believed I had forgotten such a crucial tradition. Hearing this, I finally recalled the promise, and a bitter irony washed over me. I brushed it off with a casual shrug. We've been together for so long, we're practically an old married couple now. We don't need all these formalities. Chloe's mouth opened, ready to argue, but then she paused. The words seemed to strike a chord of familiarity within her. A flicker of recognition crossed her face as she remembered last New Year's Eve. I had excitedly prepared a gift for her, only for her to show up empty-handed, having completely forgotten our promise. When I had looked at her, my disappointment clear on my face, she had used those exact words. We've been together for so long, we're practically an old married couple. It's just a formality. Forgotten means forgotten. Having her own words thrown back at her left Chloe at a loss. She awkwardly changed the subject, looking around the apartment for a new conversation starter, her eyes eventually landing back on herself. I'm hungry, she announced, her gaze fixed on me. I only replied with a single indifferent word. Oh. That's it, just oh? She asked, surprise coloring her tone. Her surprise was met with my feigned confusion. What else? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Need me to transfer you some money for food? That's not what I meant, she started, her voice trailing off. Of course I knew what she meant. Chloe was a picky eater with an irregular schedule, often working late into the night. Whenever she would announce her hunger, no matter if it was 3 a.m, I would get up without a second thought and make her something to eat. Something she liked, but now, I simply didn't care if her stomach hurt. Since you've got the means, go downstairs and get something yourself, I said flatly. I have a party to attend later. With that, I turned to head back to my room to change. Before I had taken 2 steps, her hand shot out and grabbed my wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. I turned to meet her gloomy, questioning face. "Going out this late? For what?" she demanded, her sudden upset baffling me. I tried to shake her hand off, but she only held on tighter, her fingers digging into my skin. I frowned at the dull ache in my wrist and hissed softly. "Let go. It's just a regular party with some friends." My lack of a detailed explanation wasn't enough for her. "But you never used to do this before," she insisted. And she was right. The old Ethan would never have dreamed of leaving her for anything. The old Ethan, hearing that Chloe was hungry, would have already been in the kitchen, any plans of going out completely forgotten. But that wasn't me anymore. I had already decided to leave her, to leave this life behind. She must have sensed the strangeness in my behavior, the shift in the very air between us. "Are you still mad?" she asked, her voice a little softer now, searching my face for a reaction. "No, not at all," I said, my voice calm but laced with a hint of exasperation. Though I sounded genuine, she was still uneasy. She glanced at the clock on the wall and then offered, "It's so late, I'll go with you." She started moving toward the door, but my impatient voice stopped her in her tracks. "Don't bother. I'm meeting up with old friends. It would be awkward if I brought you along." Her movement faltered. I knew she was surprised by my refusal. In the early years of our relationship, I had tried countless times to introduce her to my circle of friends, but she had always declined, citing her busy work schedule as an excuse. Now, when she finally offered, I was the one shutting her down. Before she could find the words to argue, I had already walked past her and out the door, leaving her alone in the silent apartment. The party was at a dimly lit bar downtown, the air thick with the smell of spilled beer and old laughter. As I walked into the private room my friends had booked, a chorus of teasing erupted. "Wow, look what the cat dragged in, a rare guest," Liam shouted over the music. "What brings you here, Ethan? We thought you'd have an excuse not to come, as always," another friend chimed in. "Exactly. You always say you're busy. We figured you'd ditched us for good for that girl of yours." Listening to their familiar jokes, I felt a pang of embarrassment mixed with regret. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. "I was so foolish back then," I admitted, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Distancing myself from my friends, losing myself completely over a woman who didn't even love me. I sat down among them, grabbing a half-full bottle of whiskey from the table and taking a long sip. The familiar burn of the alcohol rolled around my mouth, and I felt a strange sense of nostalgia. The truth is, I once really enjoyed drinking, a simple pleasure I had given up because Chloe didn't like the smell of it on me. Chloe always believed that we had met on a blind date, but that wasn't the whole story. I first saw her at my parents' funeral. I was only 10 years old, a small boy in an oversized suit, somehow tasked with handling the arrangements. All my relatives, with their well-meaning but hollow words, told me not to be sad, to be a good host and attend to the guests properly. But when the time came to push those 2 cold, lifeless bodies toward the crematorium, the dam of my composure broke. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I ran out of the hall, found a secluded corner behind the building, and sobbed until my small body ached. That was when she found me. Chloe. She was the daughter of my mother's friend, brought along for the somber occasion. Seeing how utterly destroyed I was, she didn't say a word. She just sat down beside me on the cold concrete and offered me a piece of candy from her pocket. "Want some candy?" she asked softly. I sniffled, taking the small, brightly wrapped sweet she offered. I unwrapped it and let the sugary flavor fill my mouth, a stark contrast to the bitterness of my grief. but the tears kept falling. "I don't have a mom and dad anymore," I choked out between sobs. "I miss them so much." She was only about 10 herself, but she seemed surprisingly mature, her eyes holding a wisdom beyond her years. She gently patted my head. "Don't be afraid," she said. "They're still around. It's like when you're at school and they're at work. When you're home eating, they're just away on a business trip. Even if you go looking for them, they've just popped back home. They're always around, you're just always missing each other. But someday, you'll cross paths again." Her simple, childish explanation became my lifeline. Her words gave me comfort during those long, parentless nights. I convinced myself that they were still there, that we were just on different schedules, always missing each other by a few minutes. I told myself that one day, after many years had passed, we would meet again. For a long time after that day, I never forgot her words or her. The only thing I knew about her was her name, Chloe. Many years later, her mother, Mrs. Peterson, arranged for us to go on a blind date. From the very beginning, her mom warned me that Chloe was a wonderful girl in every way, except that she was naturally distant and might take a long time to warm up to someone. But I didn't mind. I had seen her warmth once before, in a dark corner behind a funeral home, and I was willing to do whatever it took to see it again. During our 5-year relationship, I centered my entire universe around her. Her delicate clothes couldn't be washed with water, so my first task every day after work was to drop them off at the dry cleaners. Once, she casually mentioned how nice it would be to come home to a hot meal every day. That was the day I quit my passion, my dream of becoming a jewelry designer. I found a generic office job near her company, one that wasn't well-paying but offered me the flexibility I needed to be there for her. I moved into her pristine apartment. She didn't like the smell of alcohol, so I quit drinking entirely and slowly drifted apart from my old friends. After my parents passed, I had felt like I was floating, unmoored, with no real home to speak of, just going wherever life decided to take me. Being with Chloe, however, made me feel like I had finally found an anchor. Wherever Chloe was, that was home for me. So I did my best. I poured everything I had into taking care of her. Luckily, my efforts weren't entirely in vain. Over time, she wasn't as cold to me anymore. She started to accommodate some of my requests, like our mutual tradition of swapping gifts on New Year's Eve. But just when I thought things were finally getting better, another man became a fixture in our lives. Mark, a college friend of hers. Chloe had a thing about cleanliness. She never allowed me to eat so much as a crumb in her car. Knowing she didn't like it, I never pushed the issue. But then, I saw Mark happily eating a bag of cookies in her passenger seat, and she didn't say a single word to stop him. The first time I successfully baked a batch of macarons, I eagerly wanted to share them with her, but she frowned and pushed them away, telling me she didn't like sweets. Yet, when she was dining with Mark, if he found something too sweet for his taste, he would simply pass it to her, and she would happily accept it. My friends loved to drink, and often hit the local bars for a good time. But whenever I mentioned joining them, Chloe would frown and ask me to stop hanging out with those friends, claiming she disliked the noise and the atmosphere. But when Mark mentioned going to a bar, her first instinct wasn't to refuse, but to go along with him without a second thought. Incidents like these happened over and over again. Whenever I tried to talk to her about it, she'd just say that she and Mark were just friends and tell me to stop overreacting. Looking back on it now, sitting here with my old friends, the truth was painfully clear. She simply didn't love me enough. After I had laid out the whole story for them, I felt like a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The mood in the room turned somber, the usual boisterous energy replaced by a heavy silence. Finally, Liam broke it. "She doesn't love you, man, so why do you stick around?" I turned to Liam, a small, weary smile on my face, and shook my head. I'm not sticking around. I've already decided we're done. I'm leaving the country in 2 weeks. When I got home, the apartment was dark, except for a single lamp in the living room. Chloe was still up, sitting on the couch, waiting for me. The faint smell of alcohol that clung to my clothes as I walked in caused her to frown immediately. "Didn't I tell you I hate the smell of booze?" she said, her voice sharp. "If you're jealous, just say it. Why go and drink yourself into a mess?" I ignored her accusation and headed for the shoe rack, swapping out my shoes for slippers. I paused only briefly on my way to the bathroom. "I drank because I wanted to," I replied coolly. "Not because of you." Chloe rubbed her temples, a frustrated sigh escaping her lips. It felt like a communication barrier had sprung up between us overnight. She didn't say more, but moved to help me to bed, a gesture she hadn't made in years. To her surprise, I dodged her outstretched hand. "Which room are you sleeping in tonight?" My words took her aback. She stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You're making us sleep in separate rooms?" I waved a hand dismissively. "You don't like the smell of alcohol, right? So it's best we sleep separately." With that, I didn't bother with any further explanations and headed for the main bedroom, our bedroom. A while after I had finished freshening up, I heard the guest room door slam shut. Chloe was clearly upset. In the past, the sound would have sent a jolt of panic through me, and I would have rushed to her side to smooth things over. But now I didn't care. I just lay down on the bed and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. The next day, I headed out early to hand in my resignation at the office. It was a simple, straightforward process, and the handover was quick. By the time I got home, it was just noon. As soon as I walked in, I saw Chloe carrying a cake box and heading for the door. It wasn't until my eyes fell on the cheerfully decorated box that I remembered. It was Mark's birthday. Seeing me come in, Chloe didn't pause or even glance in my direction. She just walked out, letting the door click shut behind her. I didn't try to stop her. I knew this was her way of giving me the cold shoulder. Ever since Mark had returned to the country 3 years ago, we had countless arguments because of him. Every single time, after the fight ended, she would give me the silent treatment. And every single time, I would be the one to immediately apologize and coax her back into a good mood. But this time was different. I quickly shifted my focus and didn't bother myself with her feelings. After Chloe left, I went straight to my room and opened my laptop. In 2 weeks, I would be starting a new life in London. I needed to find a place to rent, so I started browse apartment listings. I even started looking up some local recipes to try. Living alone overseas would take some getting used to. Lying back on my bed, I casually scrolled through my phone and saw that Mark had posted something on social media just half an hour ago. The caption read, "Thank you for being there at every important moment of my life." Below it, there was a photo of Chloe sitting next to him, looking at him with a tenderness in her eyes that I had never, not once, seen her direct at me. Chloe and all of her friends had liked the post. Her comment was the very first one, "I promised you, and I won't break my word." Her friends had left comments too, saying how happy they were to see them so content together. But it was the last comment that shattered the peaceful, celebratory vibe. It read, "Stop posting this stuff, or Ethan's going to cause a scene again when he sees this." I had caused a scene before. Back then, I didn't know that Mark was Chloe's first love. I just thought they were unusually close friends. So, when I noticed Chloe paying Mark an excessive amount of attention, I had gently brought it up with her. After all, I had reasoned, even if they were just friends, some boundaries should be respected between men and women in a relationship. It was a seemingly harmless reminder, yet Chloe's expression had turned to ice immediately. "We're just friends. It's normal interaction. What's there to avoid?" She had shot back, her voice defensive. Her friends had chimed in too, calling me petty for trying to control who she was friends with. I didn't understand why such a simple suggestion had led to such a massive backlash. Not until much later when I found out that Mark wasn't just a friend. He was the first love she could never forget. They had been torn apart because her mother disapproved of him, and he had left to go abroad. Only then had she agreed to go on blind dates and started dating me. Only then did everything click into place. No wonder Chloe treated Mark so differently. No wonder her friends seemed to dislike me and reacted so strongly whenever I suggested Chloe keep her distance from him. It was because the person Chloe genuinely loved had always been Mark. To her friends, I was just an imposter, an unwelcome placeholder who had stolen what was supposed to be Mark's spot. They believed Mark was her rightful match, and only with him would Chloe ever be truly happy. Pulled back from my thoughts, I didn't confront Chloe as they all assumed I would. I just shut off my phone and drifted back to sleep. I woke up later that night to the feeling of someone shaking me awake. I opened my eyes to see Chloe standing over me, a stormy look on her face. Glancing at the time on my phone, I felt a wave of annoyance wash over me. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself before looking up at her. "What's wrong?" Chloe's voice was icy, showcasing her displeasure. "Ethan, do you even remember that I'm your girlfriend? I came home this late, and you didn't even call me once. All of my friends' boyfriends check on them, urge them to come home safely. But you? Not even a single text message. What's up with that?" I just looked at her, genuinely puzzled over what she was so upset about. "You were with Mark and everyone. So what exactly should I have asked? And weren't you the one who used to complain about me always calling and interrupting your hangouts? So I didn't call. Plus, you and Mark are just friends, right? Nothing more." My explanation was logical, and it left her at a loss for words. She wanted to argue that the old me would never have just slept through her coming home late without at least checking in, but she couldn't voice this without exposing the hypocrisy of her own reasoning. She didn't get why I was reacting this way, until she thought back to Mark's recent social media post. "You're upset because of Mark's post," she claimed, her voice sure of herself. I just shook my head. "I'm not mad." Chloe seemed relieved, dismissing my words as mere stubborn denial. She started to explain. "I've known Mark for years. It's perfectly normal for me to help him celebrate his birthday. And the comments under that post were just harmless jokes from our friends. You don't have to take them so seriously." A wave of sleepiness crept back in, and I barely listened to her lengthy explanations, just giving a half-hearted, "Yeah, I know, go get some rest." Catching my dismissive tone, Chloe pressed further. "I'm telling the truth, there's no need for you to be angry over this." Sighing, I felt completely worn out. I was too tired to keep this charade going. How can I convince you that I'm not upset? I picked up my phone, opened the social media app, and navigated to Mark's post right in front of her. Then, I deliberately liked it. "See? Does this prove anything?" Chloe was silent. She just stared at me, trying to see if I was genuinely not mad. After a long moment, she gave up. She sat down on the edge of the bed next to me and reached out to hug my waist, but I quietly shifted my body a little to the side, causing her arms to fall into empty space. Chloe was shocked. She clearly didn't expect me to reject her touch, but her shock quickly turned into annoyance. "Didn't you say you weren't mad?" I closed my eyes, not wanting to see the expression on her face. I gave her a reason she couldn't argue with. "I'm really tired from work today." She pressed her lips together into a thin line and finally got up, leaving the room without saying another word. The next morning when Chloe came out of the guest room, I was already in the kitchen having breakfast. She noticed there wasn't a plate set for her and asked, "Where's mine?" I didn't look up from my toast, finishing my breakfast before I explained. "I noticed you've barely eaten the breakfasts I've made for you before, so I figured you didn't like them much. If you want something, you can grab it downstairs yourself. Chloe was taken aback. She hadn't expected that reason. She felt that I had been acting strangely lately and couldn't understand why. She concluded that I must still be upset about Mark. When she spoke again, her tone had softened. Didn't you always want to go to the amusement park? Let's go today, and please just stop being upset. I, who had explained countless times that I wasn't angry, didn't want to go over it again. She always stuck to her own views anyway, no matter what I said. As for the amusement park, it was true that I used to want to go. I had lost my parents at a young age and had never had the chance to go to one as a child. When I started dating Chloe, I had often mentioned it, inviting her to go with me. But every time she would dismiss it as childish, claiming she was too busy with work and just wasn't interested. Remembering all those times, I just shook my head. It's all just for kids. Let's not go. The reason for my refusal was painfully familiar to Chloe. But this time she didn't give up. She kept pushing, her pleas turning into nagging, until I was so annoyed that I finally agreed, just to get her to stop. It wasn't the weekend, so there wasn't much traffic. We drove smoothly and quickly reached the amusement park. We bought our tickets, and just as we entered the main gate, a familiar group of people approached us. It was Mark and Chloe's friends. The girl in the lead, Olivia, came up excitedly and greeted Chloe, pulling her forward. Since we bumped into you, let's just hang out together. The more the merrier. I lagged a few steps behind the group, an outsider not quite fitting in. When I heard Olivia's suggestion, I didn't react. Chloe instinctively glanced back at me, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. The group seemed to finally notice me then, offering insincere, token apologies, but still not letting go of Chloe. It was as if they were silently saying, "If you're unhappy about this, just leave." I understood their meaning perfectly, but I didn't get mad. I just offered a small, polite smile. I'm cool with whatever. After all, it hadn't been my idea to come to the amusement park in the first place. Seeing my apparent approval, Chloe relaxed and accepted their suggestion. The newly formed group wandered aimlessly through the park, trying out any attractions that looked fun. After trying a few of the milder rides, they naturally gravitated toward the more thrilling ones. I was often left walking with Mark, with Chloe constantly positioned between us, shielding him. To an outside observer, they might have thought that Mark and Chloe were the couple, not us. Yet Chloe, my real girlfriend, walked right behind us without ever thinking to remind her friends of that fact. When we reached the log flume ride, Mark got visibly excited. "Chloe, let's do that one," he exclaimed. Mark's suggestion wasn't something Olivia and the others would refuse, so they all turned their attention to Chloe and me. I didn't voice any opinions. I wasn't afraid of the thrilling rides, nor did I dislike the gentle ones. I could go along with anything. Chloe, however, shook her head. "You guys go ahead. I'm not really into those kinds of rides." Just as she refused, Mark grabbed her sleeve and pleaded like a small child. "Come on, Chloe. I'll be scared by myself." Facing his pitiful, puppy dog look, Chloe found it impossible to refuse and reluctantly agreed. But she glanced at me instinctively, seeking my reaction. I remained calm, my face a mask of indifference, as if none of this mattered to me. My very calmness seemed to make her uneasy. I walked over to the vendor selling rain ponchos, but returned empty-handed a moment later, shaking my head at the group. I asked the staff, "They're all out of ponchos." With my words, Chloe hesitated again. Mark, noticing this, quickly assured her, "It's okay if we get wet. We can just use a towel afterward. Chloe, I really want to go." So, in the end, Chloe went with them. The group got on the log flume, secured themselves in the boat, and it slowly began its ascent to the top. Then, with a sudden lurch, it dropped, hurtling down under the force of gravity. A massive splash of water drenched everyone on the ride. Everyone except for Mark, whom Chloe had instinctively shielded with her own jacket at the last second. Once we were off the ride, everyone but Mark was soaked to the bone. Seeing me dripping wet, Chloe realized with a start that she had been so focused on protecting Mark that she had completely forgotten about me. She cast an apologetic glance in my direction. I just shrugged, seeming not to mind at all, and even justified her actions for her. "It's okay. You were closer to him. Taking care of him is normal." I appeared completely unfazed as I headed to a nearby shop to buy a towel, slowly drying my wet clothes and hair. The next activity, also suggested by Mark, was to try an escape room. Soon, our group, led by a guide, entered the dimly lit room. They chose one with a horror theme. Mark, who was both inexperienced with escape rooms and inexplicably eager to go, quickly clung to Chloe's side once we were inside. I watched everything they did, but stayed silent. I noticed how Mark frequently screamed whenever something scared him, only to be pulled behind Chloe, who would reassuringly tell him, "Don't worry, it's all fake." The puzzles themselves weren't too difficult, but with everyone having their own agendas, it took us almost 2 hours to get to the final puzzle. This last step didn't require solving a complex puzzle, but rather playing out a scenario. According to the instructions on the wall, a man and a woman needed to play the roles of a bride and groom and complete a marriage ceremony. After that, we would watch a video that would reveal the final clue to help us escape. Logically, Chloe and I were the only actual couple present, making us the perfect fit for the roles. But suddenly, Olivia chimed in. "I heard Ethan's afraid of ghosts. Why not let Mark and Chloe play the roles instead?" At this, the others immediately joined in, echoing Olivia's suggestion. I heard their weak, transparent excuses, but I didn't bother to call them out on their lies, like how it was Mark who had been screaming his head off earlier, or how Chloe wasn't the only other female option if it had to be Mark. Chloe neither agreed nor disagreed, but Mark himself spoke up. "This isn't right. If Chloe and I do it, Ethan might get mad." Even as he voiced his supposed concerns, he held Chloe's hand tightly, looking at me with a clear hint of challenge in his eyes. That's when I, who had been quiet and passive this entire time, finally moved. Seeing this, Olivia and the others thought I was finally getting upset and started to criticize me. "It's just a game, Ethan. Why get so worked up?" I chuckled to myself, my face a picture of confusion. "What are you guys talking about? Don't we also need a witness for the wedding? I was just going to be the best man." After saying that, I moved to the spot designated for the witness and gestured for Chloe and Mark to take their places as the bride and groom. None of them saw that coming. They exchanged surprised glances, then started encouraging Chloe and Mark, saying that if I didn't mind, they should just go ahead. Once they were set, I began reading the script for the ceremony. Everything went smoothly until I got to the part about the bride and groom kissing. When Chloe suddenly stopped, hesitating, I didn't question it. Instead, I walked up behind her and gave her a firm push toward Mark. Chloe stumbled forward, her lips landing squarely on Mark's cheek. As the kiss was completed, a video started playing on a curtain behind them, showing a tragic story from the groom's perspective. It was about how he was deceived by a deceitful woman and died on their wedding day. Stuck in this house, his spirit vowed to take revenge on all unfaithful women until he was finally moved by the display of genuine love among the players and decided to let go of his anger and reincarnate. Once the story ended and the final door creaked open, we emerged, each with different thoughts about the part about genuine love. I remained unchanged, completely unaffected by the sappy story on the tape. "Ethan, just now, when Mark and I—" Chloe began to explain as we stepped back out into the sunlight, but I cut her off. "I know, I get it. It's just a game." Although I seemed calm, She couldn't shake off the memory of how I had pushed her. Why did you push me at the end? What kind of boyfriend would push his own girlfriend toward another guy? She stared at me, trying to read my face, but I just smiled. What else could it mean? I just wanted to finish the game quickly, I replied simply. Rachel wasn't done, but Mark suddenly hurried over and took her hand. Chloe, I'm hungry. I see a restaurant just ahead. Why don't we go grab something to eat? Realizing it was lunchtime, she glanced at the clock and agreed, heading forward with him. Olivia and the others waved them off, saying they had to head back. If we don't hurry, my girlfriend will wonder where I am, one of them said. After saying their goodbyes, they left, leaving Mark and Chloe together, with me as the forgotten third wheel. I finally spoke up. You guys go ahead and eat. I have some things to take care of. I walked away without waiting to see their reactions. I wasn't just making an excuse. I actually had business to attend to. I had recently applied for a new passport, and today was the day I was scheduled to collect it. Leaving the amusement park behind, I took a cab to the government office to get my passport. After getting it, I snapped a quick photo of it sitting beside my printed offer letter from the London company and posted it online with a simple caption, "Starting a new journey in life." The post was visible to everyone except for Mark, Chloe, and their close circle of friends. I didn't expect much to come from sharing my excitement, but 3 days later, I got an unexpected call. It was my old college mentor, Professor Davies, a man I hadn't spoken to since I gave up my career for Chloe. Now I realized my mentor was probably deeply disappointed in me. Professor Davies, what made you call out of the blue? I asked, trying to sound casual. His voice was cheerful over the phone. I heard you're going abroad to get back into design. We're having a class reunion tomorrow night. Why don't you join us? We'll make it a send-off party for you. Remembering how long it had been since I had last seen my advisor and my old classmates, I didn't hesitate and agreed right away. That night, I went to sleep early in the guest room, not even noticing when Chloe came back home. The next day, I left the apartment and went straight to the restaurant address my advisor had sent me. As soon as I walked into the reserved, private room, my advisor called me over to sit beside him. It was a class reunion, and even though we hadn't seen each other in years, there was no lack of conversation topics. As the group ate and chatted away, time flew by. Right when I was deep in conversation with my advisor, my phone rang. It was a call from an intern at Chloe's law firm. As soon as I answered, the young woman's voice sounded frantic. Ethan, Chloe's having terrible stomach pains again, but I don't know what medicine she needs. What should I do? I didn't hold back. I told her the names of the 2 prescription medications Chloe usually took for her condition. There were some shuffling noises on the other end of the line, and finally, with a voice that was almost in tears, the intern said, Ethan, I couldn't find them anywhere in the office. Could you please bring them over? In the past, I would have agreed immediately, dropping everything to rush to her side, but now, without any hesitation, I refused. If you can't find them, just go to a nearby pharmacy or order a delivery. It's very convenient. I won't be coming over. After I hung up, my once silent advisor finally spoke. Was that the girlfriend who made you give up everything? I nodded grimly. Yes. Will she be okay with you going abroad? The professor asked, genuine concern evident in his voice. I had been the top student in his department. I loved jewelry design, I had talent, and I worked tirelessly. My future in the field had been incredibly bright. Yet I had given it all up for a relationship to become a full-time caretaker for my girlfriend. My advisor feared that I might give up this rare second opportunity because of another disagreement with her, but I quickly shook my head. It doesn't matter if she agrees or not. I've already decided to break up with her. Surprised by this unexpected turn of events, my advisor laughed heartily. Good. That's how a man should be. You can't give up your entire future for a woman. Ethan, you were the most talented student I ever had the pleasure of mentoring. If you stay on this path, It will surely shine brightly. Don't let this chance slip by again." I smiled softly, a genuine smile for the first time in what felt like ages. I won't, because now I've finally learned how to love myself first. After the class reunion, it was late when I finally got home. As I walked into the living room, I was surprised to see Chloe sitting on the couch, her face sullen and pale. I raised an eyebrow. "What are you doing sitting here in the dark?" Chloe, looking exhausted, stared at me for a long while before speaking, not even bothering to answer my question. "Where were you so late? You knew I had a stomachache. Why didn't you come to find me?" She fired off a series of questions, her voice laced with accusation and hurt. But in stark contrast to her emotional state, I remained completely calm, looking at her without a trace of emotion. "I didn't come because I had things to do," I said simply. "Besides, I'm far from your office. It's much easier for you to have someone else buy the medicine, or just order a delivery. I wouldn't have been of any real help." As I turned to leave the room, Chloe couldn't hold back her frustration any longer and raised her voice. "Ethan, you weren't like this before." I looked back at her, my expression indifferent. "How was I before?" Chloe began to tremble, her agitation growing with every second. I pinched the bridge of my nose, feeling a headache coming on, and suddenly grabbed her by the shoulders. I spoke words that sent a visible chill down her spine. "It's late, and I'm really tired. Calm down, I'm going to bed." With only 2 days left before my departure, I went through my phone and systematically deleted and blocked Chloe, Mark, and all of her friends' contacts. Since they didn't really like me and clearly preferred Mark's company, there was no longer any need to stay in touch. Once I left the country, our paths would never cross again. After deleting them, I quit all the group chats I had joined solely for Chloe's sake, clearing out every last digital trace of her from my life. Then, I started packing. Living in her apartment for 5 years meant there was quite a bit to handle. Fortunately, Chloe left early that morning, saying her firm had a new, urgent case, which allowed me the time and space I needed to pack up my life. I had just finished zipping up the last suitcase when Chloe walked through the door. Seeing all the luggage piled up at the entrance, she felt an unsettling feeling and asked, "What's all this? What's going on here?" Surprised by how early she had returned, I looked at the luggage but kept my composure. I replied casually, "Just getting rid of some old stuff. I'm planning to replace them with new things." She glanced over the bags suspiciously, but eventually let it go. Chloe had her own issues to deal with. She looked upset and a little scared. "Why did you delete me from your contacts?" Caught off guard by how quickly she had discovered it, I quickly logged out of my social media account, feigning surprise. "Oh, wow, did I get logged out?" With Chloe watching my every move, I logged back in and offered a flimsy apology. My friend list might have been wiped because my account was hacked. Whether it was my obviously fake performance or her sensing my recent strange behavior, she found it hard to believe my story. "Just add me back right now. Let me watch you do it," she demanded, standing there firmly, not moving an inch. I sighed, grabbing my phone and pointing the camera at her exposed QR code. But before the information could scan, her phone started ringing. The name Mark flashed on the screen, and she quickly tucked her phone away from my view. She answered the call, and whatever was said on the other end made her expression change slightly. "Mark, don't worry, I'm on my way," she reassured him. And with that, she turned and rushed out the door. I calmly shut down the friend request screen on my phone. Just as I was putting it away, a trending news topic popped up on my notification screen. The trending hashtag read, #MarkPlagiarism. Mark, the hotshot new jewelry designer who had shot to fame after winning a prestigious national contest, was now being exposed. His winning designs were being called out as plagiarized. Specifically, plagiarized from me. No wonder Mark was so frantic to call Chloe. As his ex-girlfriend and a lawyer, she could probably help him navigate the legal mess quickly. But in the world of design, plagiarism is a career-ending sin. Mark was digging his own grave. Not that it mattered to me anymore. I opened a ticket booking app on my phone and booked a one-way flight to London for the next day. Everything was set. I just needed to leave tomorrow. Chloe returned the next morning, looking rushed and stressed. She hesitated when she saw me sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast, but finally spoke up. "Ethan, Mark's designs from a few days ago, they were revealed to be copied. I saw the original designs online. It's your True Love series from 5 years back." She paused, taking a breath. "Mark made a public statement saying he didn't plagiarize and that you two were collaborators on the project. Could you log in and share that statement just this once?" 5 years ago, when I chose to leave the world of jewelry design, I had worked day and night to wrap up the True Love series. She had asked me back then why I was quitting when I loved designing so much. My reply had been simple. She mattered more. The True Love series was the very first project I started after we got together, and it was the last one I ever finished because of her. Chloe knew how much that series meant to me. Yet now she was standing here, asking me this favor for Mark. She wanted me, the victim, to publicly clear the plagiarist's name. The sheer absurdity of it was staggering. I couldn't help but laugh as I looked at her. "You really want me to help clear his name?" She didn't respond, but her eyes, pleading and expectant, told me everything. She fully expected me to help Mark. She was asking because she was absolutely certain that I wouldn't refuse. She knew how much I loved her. Seeing my calm expression, Chloe felt a sudden stab of guilt. She must have thought about offering me something in return. "You always wanted to visit the Holy Spirit Islands, right? Once you post the statement, let's go together, okay?" To show that she meant it, she took out her phone and booked 2 non-refundable tickets to Australia right in front of me. Yet, moments after she paid, Mark called again. "Chloe, someone leaked my address. There are people outside my place. I'm scared." The phone trembled with his frantic cries. Hearing that Mark was being besieged by angry fans panicked Chloe. She barely had time to remind me to post the statement before she dashed out the door again. I watched her leave without saying a word. After finishing my breakfast, I calmly cleaned up the kitchen, took out my phone, and logged into my long-dormant design portfolio account. I reposted Mark's defensive statement, but I added 8 simple words of my own. No collaboration, just theft. With that done, I ignored the chaos that I knew would follow. I snapped my SIM card in half, tossed it into the trash, and packed my last few belongings into my carry-on bag. Gazing at the apartment that had been my home for 5 years one last time, I walked out, hailed a cab, and headed straight for the airport. This time, I wouldn't be staying for anyone. My post quickly sparked an uproar online. The original creator himself pointing out Mark's theft after his lame collaboration excuse was laughable. The internet was furious, and soon overzealous fans had found Mark's exact location, defacing his front door with hateful graffiti. Chloe was at Mark's place, trying to console him. "It's okay, Mark. I'm a lawyer. I'll make sure everyone who has threatened you will pay." But her words did little to soothe him. He cried even harder as he showed her my damning post on his phone. "Chloe, didn't you say Ethan agreed to help? Why would he do this to me? Does he really still hate me that much?" Seeing him so distraught broke Chloe's heart. She was about to look for my profile to confront me, but then she remembered. I hadn't sent her a friend request after being interrupted by Mark's call the day before. She realized with a jolt that I had never re-added her. Trying to call me unveiled the final, crushing blow. She had been blocked. The thought seemed ridiculous. Pairing it with the image of the suitcases she had seen by the door, a harsh, undeniable truth began to unfold. Desperately, she scoured through all the old group chats I had once joined for her, but my familiar name was nowhere to be found. She tried every possible way she could think of to find me, but came up empty. Even on Weibo, the last platform she could think of, she had been blocked. Her anxiety grew with each passing second. She called Olivia and their other friends, not even caring about Mark asking her what was going on in the background. "Can any of you get in touch with Ethan?" She cut straight to the chase. But after asking everyone, she got the same response. No one could reach me. Chloe then realized the terrifying truth. She couldn't find me anywhere. A look of utter confusion flashed in her eyes. She didn't know what had happened, but she instinctively got up and headed for the door. Seeing her about to leave, Mark panicked. "Chloe, where are you going? Don't leave me! I'll be scared by myself." Usually this kind of pitiful plea worked on her, but not now. Chloe pushed past him, went downstairs to the underground garage, got in her car, and drove home. Mark, too afraid to leave his apartment on his own, watched helplessly as she left. He slammed the door in frustration before moving to the window, just in time to see her car speed away down the street. 20 minutes later, Chloe was home. She searched every room, but found no trace of me. Looking more closely, she realized that not only was I gone, but all of my belongings were gone too. Desperate to find any sign that I had been there, she finally saw a small note left on the nightstand in our bedroom. "Chloe, let's break up. Just 4 words, but they hit her like a ton of bricks. I wanted to break up, but I loved her so much. How could I just let her go? I had even given up my favorite thing in the world, jewelry design, for her. And now, just because she had asked me to make a statement clearing Mark's name, I was leaving her?" Chloe couldn't believe it, but she had to. I had left, with no chance for her to argue, not even knowing if I was in another city or another country entirely. The empty room mirrored the vast emptiness she felt inside. Sadness overwhelmed her, breaking down all of her logical defenses. She even ran back to her law office, using a coworker's phone to try and call me, but every attempt ended with a cold, mechanical voice saying, "The number you have dialed is unavailable." Just then, her own phone rang. It was Mark. "Chloe, where did you go? I'm so scared." His voice came through the receiver, but she no longer felt any sense of urgency. She massaged her temple, staying silent until the low sobs on the other end of the line made her softly say, "I took your case, and I'll see it through. Don't worry, those who used illegal means to harass you won't get away with it." Chloe eventually stepped in to help Mark address the situation. Though he couldn't shake off the plagiarism label, she took firm legal action to punish those who had leaked his private information or vandalized his home. But soon after, news spread that Chloe and I had broken up. Or more accurately, that I had disappeared without any explanation. Olivia and the others quickly invited Chloe out after hearing the news. The moment she arrived at the bar, they surrounded her. "No wonder Ethan hadn't visited you lately while you were handling Mark's case. He's finally smart enough to let you go." "Hey Chloe, now that he's out of the picture, when are you and Mark getting back together?" They chatted away, but Chloe didn't follow their line of thought. "Get back together? What do you mean?" "What? You don't plan to get back with Mark?" "Why would I get back with him?" She downed a drink, lost in her own thoughts. She had tried every way to find me, but had only managed to learn that I had gone abroad. She didn't even know which country. Shaking her head, she spoke with a hint of sadness in her voice. "I just want to find Ethan." "Why are you even looking for him, Chloe? Don't tell me you've actually fallen for Ethan." Olivia sounded incredulous, eyeing Chloe, who seemed to have aged years in just a few days. Chloe drank silently, pausing at Olivia's words. Like me, the idea had never crossed her mind. But now that I had left like this, she just felt empty and deeply unsettled. She chuckled bitterly, softly saying, "He was my boyfriend for 5 years. Isn't it normal to like him?" "But if you like him, what about Mark?" Another friend, Alex, interrupted, taking the drink away from her with a puzzled look. "We all thought you liked Mark, and were just pressured into dating Ethan, so we were trying to help you and Mark get some time alone. You never said no. And now you're saying you like Ethan?" Chloe grabbed a new drink, lying back on the sofa, frustration weighing heavily in her voice. "I don't know. I just know that when he left, I felt like a part of me was missing. I think of him no matter what I do." She thought they would take her side, offer some comfort, but as her words settled, their expressions turned complicated. Finally, Alex couldn't help but snort, putting the bottle back down in front of her. "Chloe, it serves you right." The others stayed and drank with her for a little while longer before leaving, one by one. In the end, Chloe was the only one left in the booth, drowning herself in alcohol, one glass after another. Chloe rarely let herself go like this. Back in school, she was always the ideal child, the perfect student. She was stuck in the role of the good girl and never dared to step out of line. The first time she had ever let herself go was the year she met Mark. Mark didn't do well in school and was often bullied and isolated. Chloe had noticed him because every time she saw him, he was being picked on by others. She had stood up for him a couple of times, and because of that, he had started sticking around her. Later, Chloe found out that Mark was actually quite popular with the opposite sex. Her friends liked him too, and even she couldn't resist his charms and ended up falling for him. They had dated for 3 years. Chloe had planned to introduce him to her parents after graduation, and then get married. However, her mother, Mrs. Peterson, didn't like Mark. She thought he was too calculating and manipulative, so she had paid to send Mark abroad and arranged a blind date with me for Chloe. At first, she really disliked me. Although Mark leaving wasn't my fault, I still seemed to have taken his place. Back then, she thought she would never fall for me. But later, I gave up so much for her. Whenever she asked me why, I would just say that she was the most important thing in the world to me, and I would give up anything for her. Chloe was touched by my unconditional love, so her attitude toward me softened, and that's when Mark returned. With lingering feelings for him, she had drifted away from me again. She figured that if it weren't for me, she'd be with Mark, the one she thought she truly liked. She thought she wanted Mark. However, when Olivia and the others hyped up chances for her and Mark to be together, she never refused them. Still, she began to feel a strange resistance inside. She told herself it would be one last time, after which she would only see Mark as a friend. She believed she could handle it. When I initially left her and Mark alone together, she thought she had managed both relationships well. But later, her negligence and constant boundary testing had caused me to choose to leave. She couldn't help but think that maybe this was what she deserved. The bottle in front of her was more than half empty, and Chloe's mind grew fuzzy. In a drunken daze, she seemed to see a familiar figure standing before her. She reached out a hand. He smiled back, helping her up and taking her to a private room upstairs. "Ethan, is that you? You're back, right? This isn't a dream, is it?" His movements paused for a second, but he quickly snapped back to his task, his voice gentle but slightly different from what she remembered. "Yeah, I'm back. Let's get you some rest first." But Chloe, already too far gone to think straight, paid no mind. With a soft ding, the elevator stopped. She was guided into a room, laid onto a soft bed, and fell into a deep sleep. Next to her, Mark ran his fingers over her closed eyes, and then down to the buttons of her shirt. His eyes were filled with a dark touch of resentment. "Chloe, you're mine," he thought. "I won't let you love anyone else. You're stuck with me for life." That said, he shrugged off his own clothes and lay down beside her. 5 years later, at J City International Airport, I walked out of the arrivals gate in a sleek black suit and sunglasses. Being back on the land where I had once spent so many years of my life stirred some complicated emotions in me. When I first went to London, it was with the firm intention of staying there forever. But after 5 years, I finally understood why London was often called a food desert. Thankfully, there were Chinese supermarkets, and I could cook for myself, which made things much more bearable. So when my company announced its plans to open a branch in China, I was quick to volunteer to return with the team. The main group hadn't arrived yet. I stood to the side of the exit with my suitcase, waiting for them. Just then, a familiar female voice, full of disbelief, came from behind me. "Ethan, is that you?" The instant the words left her mouth, a shadow fell over me. I looked up to see none other than Chloe. After 5 long years, finally seeing the person who had once been my entire world, her voice shook, and she reached out, wanting to embrace me. But I moved quicker, stepping back just as she reached for me. "Miss Peterson, please keep it professional," I said, my voice cold. The aloof, formal title made Chloe pause, and my retreat clearly pained her. "Ethan, where on earth have you been all these years? I've searched for you for 5 years, and I finally found you," Chloe said, her voice cracking. "Where I've been is none of your business," I replied flatly. "And I never asked you to look for me. Also, we're not close enough for you to call me Ethan. You can call me Mr. Hayes." Chloe shook her head, still in disbelief. "Ethan, how can you say we have no connection? Are you still mad at me? I know I was wrong. Can you just give us another shot? I swear I won't disappoint you this time." I sighed in frustration. For the first time, though, I truly understood what it meant to talk to a brick wall. "Chloe, can't you understand? What am I supposed to be mad at? Did you forget that we broke up 5 years ago? Another chance? Ha! Chloe, why on earth would I do that?" "Ethan, are you ready? We gotta go." Our back and forth was interrupted as the rest of my team reached the exit. Looking back and seeing me still there, they called out to me. The moment I heard that, I wheeled my suitcase right past Chloe. "I have things to do. I don't have time to get tangled up with you." "Excuse me?" I didn't even glance at her reaction, just sped up and left. Chloe wanted to chase after me, but a hand suddenly blocked her path. "He doesn't seem to want any ties with you, ma'am. Clinging on to him like this isn't very ladylike," said a woman's gentle, yet firm voice. Chloe frowned. "This is between him and me. Who are you to meddle?" "I'm his girlfriend," the woman replied with a sarcastic and slightly scornful smile. "If someone's harassing my boyfriend, ma'am, please tell me. Who else has the right to step in if I don't?" Chloe picked up on the hostility in the woman's voice, but she didn't acknowledge the girlfriend claim. After all, I had left without any sign of waiting for someone. "He likes me," she said confidently. The woman laughed out loud. "I don't know where you get such nerve. You're ancient history, and I'm his present. And you're telling me he likes you? Maybe he liked you once," she continued, "but he's chosen someone else now. Why keep pestering him?" Chloe didn't want to believe it, but the woman's certainty and her detailed knowledge about her and me made her uneasy. Had I really moved on? But I used to love her so much. How could I have fallen for someone else so easily? Tight-lipped, she glared at the woman and stubbornly declared, "I won't give up on him. No matter who you are, you can't take him away from me." "I'm Maya. Feel free to try," Maya said with a raised eyebrow, clearly amused by Chloe's threats. Taking him away from her? That was a joke. I had left 5 years ago. She was just stuck in the past, thinking I still belonged to her. Maya looked at Chloe as if she were an absurd spectacle, before calmly walking in the direction I had left. Chloe was left standing there, her face alternating between red and white. Maya, the only daughter of J City's top family, the heir to the L Group. She was in a completely different league than me. How could we even know each other? And wasn't Maya supposedly dating some international business tycoon? Was Maya lying about me being her boyfriend? Fists clenched, Chloe watched Maya's retreating figure, anger boiling inside her. She would find me, and she would expose Maya's true colors. She wouldn't let Maya's plans succeed. I knew that bumping into Chloe in J City was bound to happen eventually, but I didn't expect it to feel like such a small place. Chloe's law firm worked with my company's DW's domestic branch's legal department. Luckily, I handled the jewelry design section, so I rarely had to deal with any legal matters. Still, I was briefly surprised to see Chloe introduced as the legal representative for a project, but I soon shrugged it off. After lunch one day, I found a large bouquet of red roses on my desk. My coworker gasped. "Wow, Ethan, your girlfriend is really romantic." When they turned to look at me, they noticed I wasn't pleased. Without much thought, I tossed the entire bouquet into the nearby trash can. "Why would you throw away such beautiful flowers?" my colleague asked, disappointed. I chuckled. If my girlfriend saw them, she'd get jealous. You know how Maya is. My coworker realized the flowers weren't from Maya. Curiosity piqued, he asked, "How do you know she didn't send them?" Thinking of Maya brought a sweet, genuine smile to my face. She knows I don't like roses. Neither of us noticed Chloe watching us from afar. She couldn't hear our conversation. She only saw me discard the roses without any hesitation or confirmation. Despite a fleeting moment of disappointment, it reinforced her belief. I must not care for Maya. If I did, I would at least check if the flowers were from her before throwing them away. Plus, Maya hadn't shown up at the office for days. My decisive actions seemed to suggest that we might not be that close. Maybe we weren't even a real couple. Could this mean she still had a chance? Joy bubbled up inside her, lifting her recently gloomy mood. With her mind made up, Chloe kept checking the clock. This was the most she had looked forward to quitting time in 5 years. Finally, when the workday ended, Chloe quickly made her way downstairs, waiting by my car. 10 minutes later, I was ready to head home and spotted Chloe waiting by my car. Seeing me, she couldn't hide her hopeful smile. "Ethan, do you have time today? My mom heard you're back in town and really wants to see you." My initial reaction was to just get in my car and leave, but the mention of her mom made me pause. Though Chloe and I had broken up, her mom, Mrs. Peterson, had always been kind to me during our 5 years together. A short visit wouldn't hurt. "I'll find some time to visit her," I said. I had said my piece and got in the car. As the engine started, she still refused to leave. Even though the car window muted her voice, I could still hear her clearly. "Ethan, I don't know what's going on between you and Maya, but I need to tell you she's not a good person. She has a boyfriend overseas, Ethan. I can't stand to see you get fooled by her. Can you just hear me out?" The window slowly rolled down, revealing my profile. "What else do you want to say? But let me remind you, if it's about Maya and me, you don't need to bother. Our business is none of yours." "Our business is none of yours." Those words crushed the flicker of joy in Chloe's eyes. I had completely separated myself from her. Still, she couldn't just let it go. She had made one mistake. Why wouldn't I even give her a chance? With pain etched on her face, Chloe hurried up before I lost my patience entirely. "Ethan, please believe me. My love for you is real. And what I'm saying is true. Someone like Maya, a rich princess, can't possibly be sincere with you. Didn't she ever tell you she has a boyfriend abroad?" She spoke with such sincerity, but I remained unmoved. I turned to look at her, really look at her, for the first time since I'd been back. But not with gratitude or delight. My look was full of deep mockery. Chloe, it's been 5 years, and you've become someone who loves to stir the pot. People are like mirrors. You see others as you see yourself. You're slandering her, but did you ever stop to think that Maya's so-called boyfriend abroad could be me? Chloe was stunned by my words, not expecting such a reply. She was shocked that my opinion of her was so incredibly poor. She stood there, dumbstruck, watching me roll up the window and drive away. 20 minutes later, I arrived back at my rented apartment. When I opened the door, I saw Maya wearing an apron, her face lighting up with a warm smile when she saw me. "You're back. The last dish is almost ready, then we can eat." I was a bit surprised to see her in this domestic role. I squeezed her cheek as she leaned in. "You can cook? What other surprises are you hiding from me?" Maya chuckled indulgently, leading me to the dining table. "I just learned today. Want to try?" I glanced at the 4 simple, homemade dishes on the table. They looked pretty decent. I tasted one and was pleasantly surprised. I gave her a big thumbs up. "This is really good," I praised her generously. Then I mused, "I didn't know you had such cooking skills." Finally, I decisively declared, "First time cooking and it's this good? I guess you have a real knack for it. From now on, cooking is your task." Maya, a bit taken aback by my reaction, soon burst into laughter. "You're really something. I bet you're the only one who can boss around the heir to the L group like this." The next day at lunchtime, I was about to head downstairs when Chloe showed up with a food container. "Ethan, you haven't eaten yet, right? I brought you lunch. Let's eat together." She moved to set the container on my desk, but I stopped her. "No need. I'll just go eat downstairs." My rejection was firm, but she wouldn't give up. Chloe forced a smile and pushed the container towards me. "I brought this just for you." Before she could finish, a sharp male voice interrupted her. "Chloe, that's the lunch I made for you. How can you just give it to some other loser?" I turned to see Mark, a very familiar face. His voice was sharp and nasty, piercing through the quiet office. Others in the office frowned in discomfort. I pushed the container back towards Chloe, and, compared to her flustered state, stayed completely calm. "He told you it's for you. Why are you giving it to me?" The scene reminded her of 5 years ago, when I had decided to leave. I had also been like this then, indifferent to everything, unconcerned with who she was with or what she was doing. Lost in thought, Chloe didn't notice when Mark approached her. Seeing that familiar, yet now despised face, she couldn't speak. 5 years prior, a drunk Chloe had mistaken Mark for me and ended up in bed with him. While she didn't acknowledge it when she was sober, she couldn't seem to shake him off after that night. Mark had taken on the role of Chloe's de facto boyfriend, driving away any other potential admirers, and Chloe, tired of dealing with men, had simply let him. No one had ever said it out loud, but Mark knew that Chloe tolerated him, as long as he wasn't bothering me. After a short, tense silence, Mark's eyes filled with hate. Before I had come back, Chloe's heart had belonged to him, and him alone. Initially, when he learned that Chloe and I were together, Mark hadn't been worried. He knew that all he needed was to show up, and Chloe would come running back to him. He had been right. When he returned from abroad, even though Chloe hadn't broken up with me, she would drop everything to be with him with just a single phone call. Until I had suddenly left the country. I had left, but it felt like I had taken a part of Chloe's soul with me. From that moment on, her world had only revolved around me. Mark, once the moonlight she couldn't forget, was now reduced to a mere grain of rice she had to cling to, with tricks and manipulations to keep around. Mark glared resentfully at me. Since I had left, why had I come back now? As he followed her, Chloe became flustered. "Why are you here?" she asked, quickly turning back to me. "Ethan, let me explain. I have nothing to do with him." Unfazed by their emotional drama, I impatiently pushed past both of them. "Chloe, I don't know what you both are up to, but I really don't have time for these childish games. This is a company, not a marketplace for your personal arguments. Please stop blocking the way and disrupting others." I strode to the door. Just as I reached it, a woman appeared. A stunning red dress, long black hair. She immediately wrapped her arm around my shoulder. "Let's go. I'll take you to lunch." I raised an eyebrow at Maya, who looked as grand as a peacock, but I didn't push her away. "Why are you here?" "If I hadn't come, someone might have stolen my husband," Maya teased, but her eyes shot a warning glare at Chloe. "If Alex hadn't called me, weren't you going to tell me anything?" One glance at her, and both Chloe and Mark didn't dare to push any further. Their social status couldn't possibly compete with the heiress of the L group. Still, Chloe wasn't ready to give up just like that. Eventually, Chloe turned to Mark, her voice filled with anger. "Mark, who told you to come here? Get lost." Mark's eyes reddened instantly, tears welling up. He tugged at her sleeve, pleading softly, "Chloe, I was wrong. Next time I won't just follow you on my own. Please, don't send me away." Seeing more and more eyes on them, Chloe wanted to avoid any further entanglement. She tossed the lunchbox she was holding into a nearby trash can. "Since you love your lunchbox so much, don't bother bringing any for me anymore." Then, she brushed off his hands, turned, and left with a cold face. Panicked, Mark quickly followed her, forgetting all about the discarded lunchbox. Meanwhile, Maya and I were already at a nearby restaurant. After ordering, I passed the menu to Maya. "Our company is hosting a party next week. You can bring a +1. Want to come?" "Of course I do," she said, after placing her order and handing back the menu. "I can't let you watch everyone else couple up while you're all alone. Since you invited me, I'll sacrifice my time and be your date." I gave her a sideways glance. "Fine. If it's such a chore for you, maybe I'll find someone else to go with me." I pulled out my phone as if to text someone, and Maya looked at me in disbelief. "I was just joking. You wouldn't really take away my +1 privilege, would you?" Our meal ended amid their playful banter. By the time we returned to the office, Chloe was gone. Yet from that day on, she fixated on me, bringing me flowers and meals daily, undeterred even when I threw them away each and every time. A week flew by, and soon it was the day of the company party. I entered the grand venue with Maya on my arm. Almost immediately, people with drinks in their hands approached us. Following a few polite exchanges, I began to regret bringing her. Although most people greeted me first, they mostly seemed interested in talking to Maya. I disliked these kinds of business minglings, yet people often used me as an introduction to Maya. It quickly became her event to network, and I found myself more exhausted than anyone else in the room. Half an hour later, I rubbed my face, weary from the forced smiles, and glared at Maya. "You handle this yourself. I need a break." I grabbed a small cake from a passing tray, found a quiet corner, and took delicate bites. Just as I was about to finish, a certain unwelcome someone appeared. "Ethan, why are you here all alone?" Chloe smiled, gazing at me longingly. "Didn't Maya come with you? See, I told you those rich girls aren't sincere. Look, she didn't even want to come to a party with you." Without changing my expression or even glancing at her, I rose to find another spot. But as I moved, Chloe did too. After some time, my irritation became evident. "Spit it out already." Her face colored with awkwardness. "Ethan, during your absence, I really thought about things. I used to think I liked Mark, and I know I hurt you. I'm so sorry for that. But in the 5 years after you left, the pain of losing you was so much worse than when Mark left. I realized, Ethan, I've loved you all along. My feelings for Mark were just an obsession, Ethan. Can you please give me another chance to make things right? Her plea seemed so sincere. If I hadn't personally lived through that time, I might have actually forgiven her. But now, I just looked at her with cold indifference, speaking harshly. Now you say you later realized it was an obsession with Mark. Who's to say you won't later claim that I was just an obsession too? If you can't even understand your own heart, why should I trust your promises? Each word I spoke made Chloe's heart sting more, leaving her with just one feeble defense left. Ethan, I'm not lying to you. I swear, when you were gone, every single day felt like hell. I can't live without you. In the distance, Maya noticed the situation and interrupted the conversation she was in. She pointed toward me. Sorry, I've got to go take care of something, she said, excusing herself. Seeing the person blocking me, the others nodded in understanding and let her leave. Maya hurried toward the corner, but suddenly noticed a suspicious figure wearing a waiter's outfit. The man kept his head low, slowly moving towards me. She couldn't see his face, but it was clear he was a man. A bad feeling hit her. In the corner, because of the standoff with Chloe, I was still facing away from the man, completely unaware of the impending danger. Maya sprinted faster, but she was still a few steps behind. Right then, the man pulled out a knife from his jacket and lunged at me. Ethan, die! Chloe looked up, just in time to see the knife-wielding man, the blade inches from my back. Her pupils narrowed in panic. Without thinking, she pulled me aside and switched positions with me. In the next second, the sickening sound of the knife-piercing flesh echoed through the hall, followed by Chloe's cry of pain. Blood splattered before my eyes, and my mind went blank. I couldn't react. Chloe's weight collapsed onto me, and I could barely stay standing. I kneeled, supporting her, as the knife-wielding man, surprised by the switch, raised the knife again to stab me. But before he could, a huge force hit his wrist. Pain shot through his arm, and he couldn't hold the knife anymore. It clattered to the floor. Then, he was kicked down and pinned by arriving security guards, unable to get up. After a moment of collective panic, the banquet hall calmed down once they realized the attacker was subdued. Some called the police, others an ambulance. Someone yanked the man's mask off, revealing a face I instantly recognized. Mark. Suddenly, I understood. Our only connection was Chloe. If he wanted me dead, it was because of her. But I was at a loss. The last I had heard, Mark and Chloe were dating. Was Mark really going to kill me just because Chloe had been pestering me lately? Stunned, I sat there until someone helped Chloe aside. Then, I felt someone hug me tightly. Maya's heartbeat thundered in my ears, warming me up. Are you hurt? I'm so sorry, I'm so late, she said, her voice shaking. She looked me over from head to toe, relieved only when she saw I was unharmed. She hugged me again. I finally snapped back to reality. Feeling her fear, I gently patted her back. I'm fine. Don't worry. Still, that terrifying scene replayed in my mind. It was so close. If it hadn't been for Chloe, I would have been stabbed. Maya clutched me tightly, afraid that if she let go, it would all turn out to be a horrible dream. I'm so glad you're okay. I was scared to death, she admitted. Yet, remembering Chloe taking the hit for me, her eyes flashed with frustration. If only she had been faster, maybe Chloe wouldn't have had to. But as long as she was here, no one could take me away from her. Ethan, you bastard! I'll kill you, I won't let you go, Mark shouted, his eyes full of hatred. But before he could continue, someone stuffed a napkin in his mouth, silencing him. Only his muffled grunts remained. With such a serious incident, the banquet couldn't possibly go on. If you dared to harm Ethan, I'll make you pay dearly for it, Maya promised coldly, her gaze on Mark full of menace. He flinched, finally realizing the severity of his actions. There was nowhere else for him to retreat. Soon, the police and an ambulance arrived, taking Mark and Chloe away. After giving our statements, the other guests left. As for Mark, Maya left his case to her family's team of lawyers. Outside the police station, my friend and colleague Alex griped to me. I hired them because I heard they were the best law firm in the city, but they let their personal lives mess up our first ever company event, nearly costing me a vital team member. What terrible luck, getting partnered with someone like that. I'm firing them as soon as I get back. He paused, then continued. I don't care if we lose money. I'm terminating that contract. All right, calm down. I tried to soothe him. Getting angry can give you wrinkles, and you spent good money on that face of yours. You don't want to waste all that skincare cash just because of them. I brushed his hair back gently. Seeing his mood lighten a little, I added, besides, it all started because of their boss. Sure, but she did almost risk her life saving me. That kind of makes us even. Don't be so mad, okay? Hearing this, Alex finally let out a sigh. Fine. For your sake, I'll let it go for now. We'll see about any issues once Chloe's recovered. They chatted a while longer before parting ways outside the police station, one going home and the other waiting for Maya to head to the hospital together. Even though she had saved my life, it wouldn't feel right holding on to past grudges forever. When Maya and I got to the hospital, Chloe had already been moved out of the emergency room. I went straight to the patient room, where her mom, Mrs. Peterson, was waiting. I entered first, softly greeting her. Hello, Auntie. Maya stayed outside, sitting on a chair in the hallway. Inside the room, Mrs. Peterson glanced at me without much expression and pointed to a chair beside her, saying simply, Sit down. No thanks, Auntie. I just came to ask how she's doing. I sensed her coldness and didn't want to push her, so I shook my head and stood where I was. Honestly, we weren't very close, but she had been my own mom's close friend. After my parents passed away, she had helped me out a bit here and there. It wasn't much, but it had meant the world to a grieving 10-year-old boy. Helping someone out in a tough spot is a debt that's hard to repay. Mrs. Peterson might have kept some things from me involving Chloe and Mark, but she had treated me like a son during my 5-year relationship with Chloe. I never held much against her. I just never imagined I would be visiting her like this, under such circumstances. She's past the critical stage now. If all goes well, she should wake up by tomorrow, she said softly, looking at her daughter's pale face with pain in her eyes. Then she looked at me with a complicated mix of emotions. She wasn't sure how to face me. She knew that she and Chloe had wronged me, and my leaving was my right. But she was Chloe's mom, so she was naturally inclined to take her daughter's side just a little bit. When I had left for abroad, Chloe had been a wreck, always drunk at home. Then Mark had come back into the picture. Mrs. Peterson had never liked Mark, thinking he was too manipulative, and right under her watch, he had hurt Chloe deeply. She blamed Mark, her daughter, and even me a little bit. How could I have just left like that and crushed Chloe's hope? So she had let Mark stick around, believing that maybe if Chloe got what she wanted, she'd revert to the vibrant woman she once was. Chloe didn't end up with Mark, but she had managed to get back on track. Until I returned to the country and stirred everything up again, leaving her daughter lying unconscious in a hospital bed. Rationally, Mrs. Peterson knew that Mark was the main culprit, but emotionally, she still connected me to this mess. With a sigh, she looked at me and said, "For old time's sake, could you do me a favor, Ethan?" My surprise quickly turned to understanding. "Auntie, sure, what do you need?" "I'm asking you to not see her anymore. If anything like this happens again, I don't think my heart can take it." Her plea was earnest, like she was ready to drop to her knees and beg. I wanted to say that whether I saw Chloe or not wasn't really in my hands, but depended on Chloe too. However, seeing her weary face, I couldn't bring myself to say it. A sarcastic laugh came from the door as Maya walked in, saying bluntly, "Ma'am, if you don't want my boyfriend seeing your daughter, it's simple. Just keep her from bothering him." By the time she finished speaking, Maya had joined us in the room, pulling me closer to her side, making her support for me clear. Standing up for me like that, especially in front of an older person, turned my cheeks red. I turned to Maya, whispering, "I thought I asked you to wait outside. What brought you in?" She looked at me, my face flushed, and feeling entranced, she couldn't help but plant a quick kiss on my lips. Before I could pinch her side in mock annoyance, she grabbed my wrist and coughed lightly. "I was just checking on you since you hadn't come out yet, and surprise, I found someone guilt-tripping you instead." Maya's words left Mrs. Peterson embarrassed, but she was more startled by their clear relationship. I was dating this woman. The realization made her even more frustrated with her daughter. Chloe hadn't valued what she had, and now she couldn't let go, even when I had clearly moved on to a new relationship. Mrs. Peterson had nothing left to say, but since the one laying in a hospital bed was her daughter, she forced a smile and promised, "I'll keep an eye on it." With nothing more to say, I took Maya's hand and headed out. We didn't stop until we were outside the hospital. Maya paused, and I looked back curiously. "What's up?" "Oh, it's nothing. My boyfriend's just too charming. It's a bit overwhelming." She sighed dramatically before I could get embarrassed, and then added, "Hey, boyfriend, when are you going to give me a promotion in status?" I paused, my face reddening slightly. "Depends on the mood. When the mood's good, I'll promote you." "So when is Ethan in a good mood?" Catching the playful hint in her voice, Maya decided to push further, even though she had initially just wanted to cheer me up. I shot her a mock-annoyed glance, but didn't provide a definite answer. "Depends on your performance." When Chloe woke up, it was already the third night. It was a bit later than the doctors had expected. Mrs. Peterson was so anxious she almost hit the call button every half hour. The doctors had to repeatedly assure her that Chloe's vital signs were stable and there was no danger, which calmed her nerves a bit. However, they understood her worry. The knife wound was dangerously close to her chest. If the attacker's target hadn't been slightly above, the knife might have pierced her heart directly. Moreover, there were no doctors at the crime scene to offer immediate help. When Chloe was brought to the hospital, she was nearly given a critical condition notice. Luckily, fate was on her side. She had pulled through the surgery, and her post-op vitals were stable. Even though she woke up a bit late, her life was not in danger. After a brief visit on the first day, I hadn't shown up since. Initially, Mrs. Peterson wasn't too concerned. It was normal not to have much energy when you're freshly awake from a severe injury. But as the days passed and Chloe remained in that listless, silent state, Mrs. Peterson started to panic. "Chloe, what's wrong? Don't scare your mom like this." Just as Mrs. Peterson was about to press the call button in her worry again, Chloe grabbed her hand. She looked down to see Chloe's hopeful, pleading eyes. "Mom, can you help me?" Those words immediately filled Mrs. Peterson with a vague sense of foreboding, which was further validated by Chloe's next words. "Mom, can you ask Ethan to come see me? You were always so good to him. I'm sure he'll listen to you." Hearing it was about this, Mrs. Peterson became irritated and directly refused. "No way, Chloe. It's over between you two. Can't you just let it go? He's moved on with his life, and you should start yours too. You didn't even like him back then. There are other men out there. Why do this to yourself?" Her words were heartfelt. All Mrs. Peterson hoped was that Chloe would take her advice and move on. Back when Chloe was obsessively hung up on Mark, she had eventually let go and accepted someone new. Mrs. Peterson believed Chloe could do the same now, given enough time. She was sure Chloe would eventually get over me. But for the first time in front of her mother, Chloe shook her head and began to cry, pleading, "Mom, I can't forget him. Without him, I'm going to die." Even when Mrs. Peterson told her that after bringing Maya to see her once on the first day, I hadn't shown any further interest in her condition, Chloe still didn't regret taking the knife for me that day. As painful as it was when the knife plunged into her chest, she had felt equally relieved. Thank goodness it was her taking the hit, not Ethan. Chloe wanted to believe that no matter how much I didn't want to see her, a person like me wouldn't be so heartless as to not even check if she was out of danger and awake. Since I did behave this way, there was only one explanation. Mrs. Peterson must have told me not to come. Mrs. Peterson assumed that Chloe's feelings for me were as trivial as her feelings for Mark, thinking she would eventually get over it just by not seeing me. But Chloe knew it wasn't the same. It is said that in life or death moments, you truly understand your feelings. In that instant, Chloe was certain that she loved me, without any fear of life or death. This was a sensation she had never experienced with Mark. She could neither forget me nor let me go. My name was etched deep within her, unforgettable for life. She only knew that without me, she would die. Yet, seeing Chloe in this state only made Mrs. Peterson more frustrated. "Chloe, wake up! He has a girlfriend already. What good would seeing him do? He and his girlfriend are very much in love. He won't come back to you." Her words failed to bring Chloe back to her senses. She still looked up at her mother with pleading eyes. "Mom, just this once. Let me see him, just one time." Mrs. Peterson steeled herself, refusing to look at her or listen to her pleas, maintaining a silent standoff. Both were betting on who would relent first. In the end, the one who got their wish was Chloe. Mrs. Peterson didn't know my address, so she had to try and catch me at my workplace. It took several attempts, but finally, on the third day, as I passed the reception desk, they managed to inform me there was a Mrs. Peterson looking for me. I quickly realized it was Chloe's mom, but was puzzled about why she had been trying to reach me for 3 days. I hadn't checked on Chloe after the initial visit. What did she want? Soon, I would find out. As she approached me with a guilty expression, without any pleasantries, I asked straight off, "Mrs. Peterson, is there something you need with me?" "Can you see Chloe? She's not doing well." She opened up, aware that I probably suspected her visit was about Chloe. After saying that, she quickly added, "Ethan, I know I was a bit harsh last time. I apologize. Please don't hold it against me, just this once, okay? I promise we won't bother you again." She thought that apologizing would make me forget the past and agree to meet Chloe. But surprisingly, I shook my head. "Auntie, the promise of not seeing her was made by you. I agreed to it, and I intend to keep it. Plus, even without that promise, I'm pretty busy lately." Mrs. Peterson's face became a little stiff, and hearing my last sentence, she couldn't help but ask, "Is there something going on?" I smiled slightly, a look of genuine happiness spreading on my face, with a deeper sparkle in my eyes. "I proposed to Maya, and we're busy planning our engagement." The news hit her like a ton of bricks. She didn't expect things to progress so fast between us. Unbeknownst to her, Chloe hadn't even considered marrying me after 5 years of dating. With Maya, it was something I wanted to happen as soon as possible. Maya had chased me for 2 years, we had dated for another 2, and it was only in the 3rd year that we talked about marriage. This was because early on, I had told her that I had once given up my dream for someone and didn't want to do that again for anyone. She had never looked down on my family background. The Millers, Maya's family, being a top-tier family, didn't need strategic marriages to stabilize their business. For Maya's partner, They valued character over family background. They had no objections to my desire to pursue my career first. It took me 5 years to carve out my own name in the world of jewelry design, becoming recognized for my own work and not just as Maya's boyfriend. Now I was ready to take the next step. What I needed was to be able to present everything I wanted to give her. There was a gentle knock on my office door. It opened and Maya's voice followed. Holding a warm lunchbox, she smiled at me. "Fiancé, how much longer will you be? I brought you some food." "Almost done," I replied with a smile, motioning for her to sit beside me. Then I turned back to Mrs. Peterson. "Auntie, was there anything else?" Mrs. Peterson hesitated, but eventually shook her head. "You two enjoy your meal. Let's just say today's visit didn't happen." Without waiting for me and Maya to react, she got up and walked toward the door. Once she had completely left, Maya casually asked, "What did she want?" I took the lunchbox she handed me, laughed at her attempt to act uninterested, and gave her a detailed and slightly exaggerated account of everything. Seeing the jealousy growing more and more apparent on her face, I finally stopped teasing, soothing her. "It's okay, I didn't agree to meet her. There's nothing to be jealous of." Unexpectedly, Maya perked up at my words. "Why not? Not only should you go, but I want to go too. Our engagement party is coming up, right, Ethan? Let's go deliver the invitation to her personally." I wondered when she had become so generous, but upon hearing her next sentence, I realized her true intent. But since I adored her, if she wanted to go, we would go. That afternoon at 5, Maya and I arrived at Chloe's hospital room. Opening the door, I locked eyes with Chloe, who looked up with surprise. Mrs. Peterson hadn't told her about the engagement, just that I hadn't been seen. Chloe had thought she wouldn't see me today, so when I showed up, it was an unexpected delight. Before she could react, Mrs. Peterson's expression changed. She had hoped we wouldn't come, just like I had said earlier. But seeing us now meant we weren't here for Chloe. As expected, after some brief, awkward small talk, we got to the point. "We actually have another reason for visiting," Maya said, pulling out a thick, elegant invitation before Mrs. Peterson could stop her. "It's our engagement party in 5 days. Here's the invitation. We'd love for you to come." Maya smiled perfectly, but Chloe's own smile cracked. She couldn't maintain her composure anymore. "You two are getting engaged?" This time I was the one who answered. "Yeah, we've had our differences, but after my parents passed away, your mom helped me out a lot. Though we can't be together as a couple, you'll always be family to me, and it would mean a lot if you came." Calling her family felt like a heavy blow to Chloe. Family. She stared at me, watching my lips move but hearing nothing except a loud buzzing in her ears. A sharp pain spread from her chest throughout her entire body, like thousands of tiny needles piercing every inch of her skin, engulfing her in darkness. The voices around her faded away until they vanished entirely, along with her consciousness. "Doctor! Doctor!" Mrs. Peterson's panicked voice echoed through the hospital room. The next moment, Maya and I, along with the invitation we had brought, were kindly ushered out. As we left the hospital, I glanced back with a hint of concern towards Chloe's room. Is she going to be all right? Are we really doing the right thing? I wondered. After all, she had saved my life. If our visit ended up upsetting her to this extent, I would feel pretty guilty about it. Sure, I didn't expect her to react this way, but still, if she got really upset, I'd feel bad. Maya gave my head a reassuring pat and spoke with a bit of a laugh. "Don't worry, she won't be. I've already called the best doctor over. Chloe's tough. She fainted once, but it didn't harm her. It actually helped clear her mind a bit, so it's a blessing in disguise." Before we knew it, it was the day of my and Maya's engagement party. The Millers had organized the whole thing at the fanciest hotel in J City. Even though it was just an engagement, the Millers were treating it like a grand wedding. At the party, everyone was dressed to the nines, raising their glasses in celebration. On my side, there were just some of my colleagues from DW Company and a few of my old friends. Most of the people there were guests of the Millers. Watching the Millers exchange congratulations with their guests, I felt a mix of happiness and helplessness. "Why did your uncle invite so many people? Our wedding won't be like this too, right?" Maya's eyes sparkled with joy as she teased me. "The more people, the more they care about you. That's how it works with these big families. The more a matter is valued, the more guests they invite. It makes it lively. My future husband seems very excited about our wedding," she added with a playful grin. "Should I tell my father to get the planning started soon?" Her first comment surprised me. I didn't realize that big families liked crowds at social events, but her second comment just made me blush. "Stop teasing me or I'll ignore you," I said, pretending to walk away. Maya quickly pleaded, All right, I was wrong. I'm really sorry. You can't leave. What about the engagement party? We need the groom." While we laughed and joked, we didn't notice someone sitting in a dark corner of the hall. She looked a bit pale, but was trying hard to act lively. It was Chloe. Against her mother's advice, she had insisted on attending the engagement party right after getting out of the hospital. She had found the invitation on her nightstand after we had left. Even if she couldn't marry me, she wanted to see me happy with her own eyes. Today she wore her most expensive, glamorous dress. Anyone who didn't know better might have assumed she was the bride. "Ethan," she thought, her eyes fixed on me across the crowded room. "I've dressed up for your engagement party as if it were my own wedding. We weren't meant to be in this life, but maybe in the next, we'll finally be together."